Hello everyone and welcome to another installment on how to write situational writing emails. Now today I'm going to be looking at a slightly different format and it's called the formal email, and it's something that's similar but a little different from the informal emails that we've been writing, for much of this year. So without further ado, let's dive in to what makes a formal email formal. Before that, a few quick basics. Whenever we're writing any kind of emails, we always have to remember purpose, audience, context or structure, and language. Okay, so why we are writing, who we're writing to, how we are going to write it, and the language or the words that we're going to use in order to write it effectively. So, first, purpose. Why are we writing an email? Is it to invite, to inform, to complain, to persuade, to apologize, to express thanks for, or to request for information? Now, we've tried writing all of these purposes in one form or the other in the course of the last 2 years that we've been writing emails, all right? But always remember, whenever you write an email or any kind of situational writing, you must always serve the purpose. Why are you writing this email? Secondly, and equally importantly, who are you writing this email to? And this is going to determine quite a lot of things, as we'll see. First of all, clearly identify your audience. This is found in the question. They'll tell you who you are writing to. Why is identifying who very important? Simple reason. The formality or the kind of language that you use, the tone of respect or the tone of friendliness that you use will very much depend on who you're writing to. Obviously, you will not write to your principal, Mr. Reddy, in the same way that you would write to your friend or your classmate. That would be ridiculous. It would sound really disrespectful, especially if you're writing to Mr. Reddy or to the principal or to a teacher whom you do not know. You would not use the same language as you would to a friend. So let's take a look here at this example, and then I'll break it down for you to show you some of the features that differ from an informal email. So this is an example of a formal email. Take some time to notice the similarities and differences. Let me point out the similarities. You still have the date. You still have some kind of salutation here. You still have a purpose statement. Okay? You still have a end purpose, right? I look forward to your reply. You still have your end salutation. And you still have your name. Differences. Notice that the salutation here is sir/madam, right? There are going to be cases where you're going to be writing to people whom you do not know. For example, the manager of a library, the boss of a company. You may not know who he or she is, so then you need to use something generic or general like sir/madam. Notice that there is no polite statement. There's no how are you, I hope you are well, I hope this email finds you hale and hearty. None of that. Instead, we begin straight away with a purpose, or as I'll show you later, with an introduction. All right, an introduction of who I am, who the writer is. All right, and of course, notice here is yours faithfully. Now, this is going to be a little confusing, but try to remember, when I don't know the name of the recipient, I will use yours faithfully. When I know the recipient of this email, in this case, maybe I'm writing to Mr. Reddy, then I'll say, Dear Mr. Reddy, this becomes yours sincerely, which is what we normally use for our informal email, because we know the person sincerely. We don't know the person faithfully. Once again, if we know the person sincerely, if we don't know the person faithfully. All right, so these are some of the similarities and differences. Let's break it down. All right, so formal address, always use the surname of the person you are writing to, Mr. Tan, Mr. Lim, all right? But if you don't know the name, use sir or madam, all right? If you don't know whether it's a boy or a girl, sir/madam, that will be the safest. So when you use this, yours faithfully, right? Always put a comma, we always do this. Write the purpose, go straight to the point, there's no need for polite statements, and always end purpose, have an appropriate ending or end purpose, and formal signing off. In this case, yours faithfully. Right? So you must sign off formally. Okay, remember, if you know the name, yours sincerely. If you don't know the name, then yours faithfully. All right? So far, so clear. Next, so we've talked about purpose, we've talked about audience, Next, let's look at context or structure. How do we build a formal email, right? So the structure will look exactly identical to an informal email. There's the date, there's the salutation, there are paragraphs, and then there's the end salutation and your name, right? Just a few things to note. You end salutate with a comma. Always remember, and it's your full name. Your name and your surname. Why? Because it's a formal email, you're writing to someone important. You want to enclose your full name, not just your first name. Your full name, meaning your first name and your surname. Lastly, language. Okay? As with all kinds of emails that we are writing, keep your sentences short and simple. This is not creative writing. Do not use bombastic words. Do not use words that are difficult to spell. Don't make any grammar mistakes, because every mistake you make will be marks deducted. Right? Keep it simple. There's no creativity here. Just make sure you are error-free. Right? And of course, remember to use the tenses that the 6 pointers are written in. If the 6 pointers are written in the past tense, please follow exactly according to their tenses. That way you will never go wrong. Right? So let's take a look at some examples of formal letters. Okay? At this point, you may want to pause to just take a look, a closer look, all right? And remember, dear Sir, Madam ends with yours faithfully. Dear Mr. Samuel Wong ends with yours sincerely. So take note, if I know the recipient, yours sincerely. If I don't know the recipient, yours faithfully. Simple example. Later on, there'll be some examples that appear to break this rule. I want you to ignore them. Just follow these 2 examples, all right? If it's someone you don't know, yours faithfully. If it's someone you know, it's dear, yours sincerely, all right? So these are 2 examples. If you want to take a closer look at them, pause this video now and read it. I'm going to move on. So again, let me move on. Okay. All right. So again, let me refresh your memory. Whenever we are writing a formal email, right, we must, in this case, these are the audiences: the principal, the manager, the supervisor, the librarian, the police officer, the teacher, right? We always begin with the date, then the salutation, dear Sir, Madam, right? If you know the person's name, you write dear Mr. Pang, or you write dear Mr. Lim, or you write dear Mr. Reddy, right? Then you include an introduction. Allow me to introduce myself. Now, why is this important? Because if you are writing to someone who is really important, a boss, a manager, a principal, a supervisor, a librarian, that person will not know who you are, because you are just a normal person or student. They may not have noticed you. So you must introduce yourself, especially if you hope for them to take some kind of action or you want them to reply to you. They must know who you are. So give your full name, right? Allow me to introduce myself. I am Edwin Pang, right? The purpose of my email. So before your purpose, write your introduction. Okay? So remember, I'll go through again. Date, salutation, introduction, purpose. Date, salutation, introduction, purpose. Your 6 content points written in a fluent and linked manner, followed by your end purpose and your end salutation, and then your full name. That is the format for an formal letter. All right, so date, salutation here. Remember, dear Sir, don't ignore this. Substitute this with dear Mr. Tan or Mr. Pang, right? Because it's yours sincerely here. Right, let me introduce myself. I am, right, then your purpose, then all of that, then your polite statements. You must be honored to have such an honest man in your company. Please convey my heartfelt thanks to Mr. Lim. Okay, deeply touched by his act of kindness, right, and so on and so forth. Thank you. All right, always remember to thank the person if you are asking the person to help you with something. In this case, to convey your heartfelt thanks to Mr. Lim, then you must thank the person to help you, who's helping you to convey your thanks. Then yours sincerely. Okay. Now let's look at this practice that's taken from your situation writing book. All right, I'll give you a moment to look at the picture, and I'm going to zoom in on the task, and I'm going to mark the task out now, right? Like your context, audience, and purpose. So over here, very quickly, let's take a look at the purpose. The purpose is to let me just go back there and activate the pen function again. Right, pen color is red. Okay, very good. That's exactly what I want. Okay, so my purpose is to inform the principal about the student's behavior, right? So this is my purpose. My audience is the principal of Linus Primary School. This is my audience. And my context or my structure is an email. So this is my context. And because the principal is my audience, it has got to be formal, right? It's someone important, all right? Who am I? I am this character here. This is me, right? And I am observing what's happening to these two boys. And I'm obviously not very happy. You can see from my expression on my face. And my thoughts are, do they think it's a playground, right? They recognize, all right. So let's mark out the 6 content points, right? So when is 1. Where is when? It's Wednesday, 7 October, 2:15 p.m. So this is my number 1. Where? This is my number 2. Where did this happen? It's on an MRT train headed for Grange Station. So this is number 2. What the students are doing? It looks like they're doing 2 things. They are making a lot of noise and they are fooling around with the poles and handles, right? So over here, this is 3 and 4, right? Making a lot of noise, fooling around with the poles and handles. What are their names? I observe, right, that their name tags say Gerald Lim and Ken Tan. So this is my number 5. And while you are writing the email, right, what do you hope the principal will do once you get this email? It's right here. I hope their principal can teach them how to behave in public. This is my number 6. So there I go. 6 content points. My context, audience, and purpose. I am ready to begin writing my email. So I'm just going to write the skeleton of the email here. You can fill in the details later after you finish watching this video. So I'm going to begin with the date. And of course, the date cannot be any earlier than the 7th of October. So I'm going to presume that this happens in 2019. And I'm going to begin with the date, 7 October. So assuming that I immediately got home and typed this email out to the principal, this will be my date. Then my salutation, dear. Now, this is very interesting. I do not know the principal of Linus Primary School. It is not given over here or over here. So if I don't know who the principal is, I'm going to put dear sir / madam. Because I don't know if the principal of Linus Primary School is a man or a woman. I don't know his name or her name. So I'm going to put dear sir, madam. Which means that at the end of what I write, I'm going to have to sign off yours faithfully. Okay, and it's not capital F, but small letter f, yours faithfully, and then my name, because my character has no name, I'm going to put down my full name. First name, Edwin, last name, Pang. Okay, so this is going to be my format, but in between, after my salutation, dear sir, madam, remember, according to the example just now, what should come after date and salutation? Something shen? Introduction, right? So I've got to introduce myself. All right, allow me to introduce myself. Dear sir, madam, all right, allow me to introduce myself. All right, I am Edwin Pang. Okay, so I've introduced myself. What should come after my introduction? Purpose, right? I am writing to inform you. Okay, I'm sorry about the pen is not really working very well. To inform you, right? So I'm just going to take down the purpose here, about. Okay, anyway, you guys know I'm going to write down about your students' behavior, all right? About your students' behavior, right? And here, I might want to include when and where. So I am writing to inform you about your students' behavior on an MRT train heading to Grange Station on Wednesday, 7 October at 2:15 p.m. Right? So I'm going to include all of that here. Then I'm going to go on to tell him about what his students are doing. All right? And I'll include 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the next paragraph. All right? So my first paragraph will include, again, salutation, introduction, purpose statement, and points 1 and 2. My next paragraph will include points 3 and 4. and maybe 5. And then my last paragraph will be my point 6. You hope that the principal, I hope that you can teach them how to behave in public, and perhaps you will punish them for their misbehavior so that they do not do such things again. All right? I hope that, right? Remember, I hope that you can teach them. You are not in a position to order the principal to do anything. You suggest, you hope that he can teach them how to behave in public, maybe by punishing them, or by speaking to them, or by counseling them. Okay? So that's how you would end the email. I hope this has been a helpful instruction to all of you and an introduction to formal emails. We are going to do a few more practices before the exams in 2 weeks' time, but this is your introduction. Always refer back to this video if you're unsure. It's going to be very similar to an informal email, but with some notable differences. And once again, I point out to you, the differences are the introduction. Instead of a polite statement, I begin with an introduction, then the purpose statement. The sign-off is also different. If I don't know who I'm writing to, dear sir, madam, in this case, I would use yours faithfully, all right? I know that my picture is kind of obscuring some of what I'm writing, but you can hear me, so take note of what I'm saying, all right? And I hope you can see the majority of what's over here anyways, all right? So thank you for paying attention to this video. I hope that this has been helpful to you. All right, until the next one, goodbye.